Hello everyone and welcome back to Aura Farming for Dummies Part 9, where today I'm doing a little self-blazing, okay? I have amassed a whopping 2,200 videos on this channel over the years, and I've edited the overwhelming majority of them myself. And I've gotten the question of, what video are you the most proud of, or like what do you think your best video is, many times before over the years. And as we enter the next era of everything, I thought it would be fun to reflect on the past and go over what I think are the best videos that I have ever made. So, that begs the question, what is the best in this case? The best to me is the most entertaining video, although there are definitely some videos on here that I think are more of a balance of entertaining and how proud I was of them. The best video is something that I believe is very easy to watch all the way through and leaves you feeling satisfied or leaves you wanting more. I frequently give a piece of advice to people who are new to content creation when they ask me, if you can't watch your own videos all the way through, then who will? These videos on this list are videos that I have watched back in my own free time more than once because I thought they were that good. And we're going to start with some honorable mentions in no specific order. The first is the entirety of the Trouble in Terrorist Town series. I was really happy with how the overwhelming majority of these videos turned out, and to this day are some of the most watched non-Destiny content that I have ever posted on this channel. I feel that they are all very entertaining watches and allowed me to experience a side of content creation that I typically didn't get to see, and that's being an entertainer as opposed to an educator. I've been on this path, but a little bit more over the past couple of years, trying to be more of an entertainer, let my personality show a little bit more as opposed to just purely being an educator. There's nothing wrong with being purely an educator, but after 10 years of doing it, I wanted people to see me in a different light, and I wanted to challenge myself in a different way. I still get requests for more Trouble in Terrorist Town, but all of those videos, or most of them, were recorded during the prime years of that group of people, otherwise known as the Extended Dream Team from Mr. Fruit's channel. Everyone was running their own YouTube channels and their own Twitch channels and making content. Everyone had that availability, so that's why we could record so much with so many people. Like, we had a lot. Nowadays, many people in that group have moved on to other non-content career paths, to the point where getting the 8 or 9 people we would need for a recording at minimum is almost impossible. So if you're wondering why those kinds of videos stopped, that's really the main reason why, although I still record with Mr. Fruit and a bunch of them to this day. Next up is my Day 1 rating advice video. As one of very few people who has participated in every Day 1 raid race, I feel like the advice that I gave in that video is pretty solid, although I did think of another piece of information down the road that I think I turned into a YouTube short, correct me if I'm wrong. I still refer to that video to this day whenever people, come into the stream and ask me about raiding, and I still really enjoy making educational raid-based content. Next is the Foreververse video with the horrifying thumbnail. I know I've been known to take the devil's advocate side of things over my career, and there are a couple of those videos on today's list. But sometimes people just need a little bit of a reality check, and I think I nailed the commentary on this one, even if it wasn't anything revolutionary then or now. Then we have the 12-man King's Fall raid back in Destiny 1. In the early days of Destiny, Math Class, my clan, would rent a house and gather once a year for PAX West, and we'd host a little party. We still host that party, but this particular year, I asked if we could do a 12-person raid at Bungie. And by that, I mean 2 people holding 1 controller, 6 controllers, you do the math. I was very grateful for the opportunity to do this with people that I am still friends with to this day, although not everyone from that group still plays Destiny anymore, but it's been awesome getting to know everybody. And Math Class is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year. Converting a WoW raid into a Destiny raid is one of my personal favorites, but after watching it back, there are definitely some changes that I would be making to how I handled the script and how I handled the edit for this video. I still think it's a super fun concept, but I structured it in a way that I think makes things a little hard to follow at times. I would also make some additional changes to some of the fights that I discussed in terms of like the actual content. But overall, if you were a big WoW nerd, I hope it was a fun watch. That being said, I never finished the series because the second video performed so horribly bad, as they tend to do, so I bailed on them. Next is not even a video, it's an ad. This video, like this one right here, is not sponsored, so don't get it twisted, but about like a year ago or something, I was sponsored by Asus to make a Twitter video about the ROG Ally. And instead of just doing like a quick 30-second thing and getting it over with, I wanted to do a parody, specifically of The Truman Show. Danielle really helped sell the experience. I tried to be as accurate to the scene as I could with like the angles and the cinematography and stuff. And I know that when a Twitter post of mine gets 4,000 likes, that it was probably a good post. This was an ad, and it got 4,000 likes on it, okay? Just very well executed.
Let me get you some help, Datto. You're not well.
Why do you want to play games with me? You can't beat me.
That's not true. Here, why don't you play on this Asus ROG Ally? It's great for gaming on the go, or if you just want to sit on the couch. You can play your favorite games up to 120 Hz with variable refresh rate and or in 1080p. And the display on this is gorgeous. It charges super fast too, and it doesn't get too hot in your hands. It also comes with different power draws, so you can get super high performance when plugged in.
What the hell are you talking about?
Who are you talking to?
I've played with other handhelds. This is the best.
Finally, my makeover videos rounds out the honorable mentions. While I do think it was pretty entertaining seeing someone come to the light and realize they needed to experience some kind of a change in their life, I can tell you that this decision was one of the catalysts that led to myself and Danielle starting to date, which is, you know, it makes it a fun watch in retrospect. So with those out of the way, let's get to the main list. I do have like a top 2, maybe 3, I think it's 2, that will go at the end. And I do think that some videos on this list are better than others, but I couldn't really decide a good order for them because they're pretty varied. So until we get to the end, or until I mention otherwise, I don't really have a specific rank for these videos. Vault of Mania was going crazy a couple of years ago with me ping-ponging around the Destiny community like I was going on a world tour doing dozens of vault cleanings with other creators. And I always knew that I was gonna want to check in on people at some point, but the fact that I was able to bait so many people into doing a surprise vault inspection is something I did not think possible. I'm not sure anyone had any idea this was coming at all. I think my only thing about the video that I disliked was the pace. I think I could have sped it up a bit more, but otherwise I thought this was a hugely entertaining experience. Yeah, I do think it is partly a like a you had to be there kind of video, but I think it still holds up pretty well to this day. There used to be a time where I actually played a considerable amount of PvP in Destiny, at least compared to today. It wasn't anything super competitive, although we didn't really have competitive that much back then. It was mainly just like the base playlist, but I used to play actually quite often. This rant video was after a 10-hour Iron Banner session, and I think I was firing on all cylinders. The commentary at the time I thought was on the money for both PvP and PvE situations that we were in. At least, you know, I thought so. And I think it is one of my most viewed commentary videos of all time. I thought it was just a banger through and through. I really don't have that much else to say. Like, sometimes the commentary is just hitting hard, and maybe not everyone agrees all the time, but at least on the PvP side, I felt really good. PvE, I know Well of Radiance being too good with like the auto-loading meta was a hot take because it made the game hella easy. But I still stand by it, and Bungie would go on to dismantle this playstyle in an upcoming patch. Playstyle, meta, whatever. Who Wants to Be a Zerillionaire came out during prime time me and Holtzman content energy back in D1. And the only reason this video worked was because we both did Zer content for our respective channels every single week for the entirety of Destiny 1. I got requests for a sequel for this video for years after it came out, but there was just never going to be another one. It is a product of its time. I don't know how well it really holds up because the whole Zer experience just isn't the same as it was in D1, but I mainly put it here because of how often people requested a follow-up to this. Fun fact, Holtzman did get a question wrong during recording, and we just ran it back so that way we could get through all of the questions, because otherwise it just kind of would have ended awkwardly. I think he legit did get all of the other questions right. I don't remember which one he got wrong, but he was 14 out of 15. Datto Does Dinner lives on one final time in what I think is the greatest of the cooking segments I've ever done. I think I was on fire with the jokes and the bits and the cooking, like the spicy ramen that we made from the Destiny cookbook, turned out actually amazing. There was a follow-up video to this as well where we made, I think, donut holes, which I think turned out nearly equally as good. You might be wondering where this video is though, because it's not on my channel, it's on Jez's. So technically I didn't make it, but I was very heavily featured in it. So I think that counts for something. Datto Does Dinner was never meant to be a series that had any kind of longevity. I had a single idea to do it the one time, and that was gonna be the end of it. We had our stints back in the Los Angeles apartment days where I did a few, and they actually took a lot more prep than I think people realized. And I stopped doing them because I didn't really have anything else that I wanted to make, and they took a lot of time to make happen, even if it does seem like everything that I did was off the cuff. They were very meticulously planned. If I ever get inspired again one day, I would bring it back, but I've been saying that for literally years now, so I wouldn't hold your breath. That being said, I do have all 7 original, actually cringe-filled Datto Does Dinners downloaded on my computer. Maybe I will stealth drop that video as like an archive thing for this whole archive April that we're doing right now. Not to date the video or anything. The Gallarhorn versus Sleeper D1 DPS video. I couldn't tell you if I was the first person to ever do a damage comparison video because I probably wasn't, but I do know that some of my earliest damage testing videos during the Wrath of the Machine days were pretty impactful and well executed, at least I thought so. I remember busting out some line graphs and some charts for this one and really wanting to put on a good show here with good data to back it up because damage testing was just not that common. This video wasn't the first damage test I ever did, and this one probably wasn't even the most impactful of the ones that I made during that era. The Dark Drinker Axis damage video established a weapon meta that would last for months until cluster bomb rockets were discovered to be pretty substantial as well. But it's still a damage comparison video that I'm very proud of to this day, in addition to that Dark Drinker video. The Crota No Gun So Fun challenge run and the blindfolded Crota runs were 2 of my favorite challenge runs that I have ever done. Crota's End back in D1 was so pathetically easy that you could do almost whatever you wanted and probably win. It was also during a time where I was running out of content ideas for the channel, so I wanted to try out some fun ways of killing Crota, and I must have done what feels like, I don't know, like 24 challenge videos specifically on Crota. These challenge videos sustained and carried me through this slow time of the game. So there was a bug in the game at the time that allowed you to unequip your weapons completely from your character. You could just run around with your arms out and all we had were our abilities. Now, today, that doesn't sound like a very big deal at all. But D1 launch was not the same thing at all as what we have today. It's like not even remotely close. They might as well be different games. This one in particular holds a place in my heart though because of some big clutch moments in the video towards the end. I would still do challenges after Crota's End, like Skolas had a few and Golgroth got beat up on a lot. There were a few Wrath of the Machine ones. But eventually these would slow down and completely stop altogether. And for years after, I would get questions about why I didn't really do them anymore. And that's because I just didn't feel like they were as impressive as what other people were capable of doing. And because the novelty just kind of wore off. Back then, I was one of the only people doing those kinds of things on YouTube, or like one of very few. And it was just a completely different game back then. Nowadays, it's not really as novel of a concept. Like, wow, Rat King only running the new raid. What's he gonna think of next? Yeah, like on top of the fact that, like once a raid is out of contest mode, people are 2 or 3 man flawlessing the raid or like soloing raid bosses. Once something like that happens, well, no one really cares that you did a run with Darcy only. The challenges just got phased out of the content ecosystem. I also haven't really been in a hurry to like plug away at doing solo or like duo boss challenges. I think the last time I did something was 2-man Insurrection Prime from Scourge of the Past, which doesn't even exist anymore. But speaking of that, there was a time where I was in my solo raid boss killing mindset. And that was during Wrath of the Machine, during the discovery of Solo Axis. This fight was possible because you could abuse the timing of self-res to revive yourself as you were jumping out of the arena to purge a debuff that you needed to get rid of. Otherwise, the execution required to even stand a chance in this fight was really high, and the timings were super tight in every single stage. This took me 30 something hours to do, and if I remember correctly, I was either the first one or one of the first couple people to do this fight solo using a claw grip on a controller. Like, I didn't have a fancy controller, I just had a standard PlayStation controller, so that was kind of cool too. I may not do this kind of stuff anymore, but for a brief moment in time, I was doing some of the hardest stuff the game had to offer. And the reason that I don't really pursue those challenges anymore is because of the time investment needed. I don't have 12 hours a day to like grind one thing anymore, and after so much Destiny, I would just rather use that time on other projects or other passions or other games, or just taking a break. My clan math class was the first to solve the mystery of Outbreak Prime. My clan. Not me specifically, I don't feel like I really did anything at all. But even all this time later, I still get hounded to try to help solve ARGs or break codes simply because of this event. Outbreak Prime was a huge community puzzle that needed solving, and my clan led the charge on gathering data and piecing a lot of it together. This video is merely an hour of highlights chopped together of the experience, but it was such a legendary event at the time that I will go back to rewatch the events unfold every couple of years or so. 0 Hour was a great mission to revitalize the weapon for Destiny 2, but I'm not sure many things even compare to what the Outbreak experience was like in Destiny 1. Oh, Elitist Datto and the Root of Nightmares. While I understand that Root of Nightmares did contribute a bit in terms of getting more casual players into the raiding scene, Elitist Datto was out in full force. Root of Nightmares was the culmination of what I was fearing when it came to raiding. Bungie making a raid, even a contest mode raid, so easy that they would ruin the one big day that hardcore PvE players had in the game in favor of a more open and accessible experience. I am open to the idea of things being accessible. Not the day one raid. Any other day, any other experience, not this one. We had already been experiencing massive power creep in the game. Hell, I had videos going back to Deep Stone Crypt talking about the day one raid race getting to easy.
Your turn?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Recording.
Oh, my goodness.
And I really thought that this was gonna be the death of the day one experience and potentially the death of raiding. At least the raiding that I fell in love with. Bungie did bounce back from this with King's Fall a bit and then really redeem themselves with Salvation's Edge, even if Salvation's Edge brought its own set of issues. But yeah, Elitist Datto is putting on an all-star performance here. My apology. In a time where most YouTuber apologies are actually terrible and people don't even actually apologize, I made a parody apology video. I apologized because for over a year I had been telling people to purge their vaults of old Sunset garbage during Vaultamania, and then Bungie came out and said that they were unsunsetting everything in people's vaults and it was all going to be upgradable again. The apology video? Not even my idea. Someone suggested it to me on Discord. And I thought it'd be funny for like a quick laugh and a couple of views, and we moved on. Like Danielle and I brainstormed a few things. That thing got some of the highest day one views I've ever seen on a video on my channel. It might be the most, I'm not actually sure. Not only that, but it was all recorded in a single take. 5 minutes of filming, in, out. It was great. Also, all of your old weapons are still garbage anyway, and none of you are using unsunset weapons. I do not want to hear it. Similar to the World of Warcraft raid being converted into a Destiny raid video, the bringing D1 raids into D2 video was another labor of love of mine. I love raids, I love raiding, but I also love thinking about the kinds of decisions that go into making a raid or a raid mechanic or a boss. Not every D1 raid had tons of issues to solve, but it was still interesting to analyze what problems did exist and how they could be solved. We've also gotten 2 of those raids back since that video, so it also has some of the fun of seeing how right or wrong I was in guessing how to solve some of these problems or guessing how these fights would be implemented into Destiny 2. The Jez Last Wish video represents the next stage of my life in multiple ways. It is also not on my channel, it's on Jez's, but it's still a video that I associate with very heavily to such a degree that I feel like it is also partly my video. So yoink, Jez, give me the ad revenue. It's the video that ultimately led to me meeting Danielle, who was my wife, but it was also part of the start of a relationship with myself and Jez, with me and Danielle being featured so heavily as a part of his channel over the next, what would be 6 years. The video on its own, I think, still holds up very well to this day, but knowing what comes after definitely adds to the fun of the experience. Making videos with Jez over the past 5-6 years also showed me that I could be more than just a Destiny wiki, that I have some YouTube video quality comedic chops when I'm put in a position to succeed. Hasn't really translated that much over here, but I like to think that I've really come into my own over the past 2 years. You don't know anything about game engines. This video was one of those devil's advocate, I'm tired of your crap videos that I've been known to make every now and then. Look, I know that I and the greater Destiny community do not see eye to eye on everything, and I don't do that to rage bait. It's just genuinely how I feel about some things. This video was made after numerous complaints about the technical quality of the game, like server stability was at an all-time low, leading to tons of extra downtime. This led to many a conversation about how Bungie should be changing the engine on which Destiny was built to have the game be more stable. The thing about that is that the overwhelming majority of people have no idea what they are talking about when it comes to this particular topic. I was tired of seeing what I assumed to be completely unfounded conjecture on a subject matter that I knew basically no one knew anything about at all, self included, which is kind of the problem. And truth be told, this video, in its first draft, was essentially going to be me saying, look, I don't know anything about game engines, but I know that it doesn't work the way that everyone is saying that they work. Which I wasn't the most stoked about. I knew enough to say that people were being dumb about this conversation topic, but I wasn't educated enough to explain why, which is a frequent problem that I have. Fortunately, I put this script up for review in my Discord, and I got to speak privately with some game developers extensively about game engines. After that conversation, I had to completely rewrite the script, which formed into the video that eventually launched, and it definitely made for a way better video as a result. I still don't know anything about game engines, but without being able to speak to anyone, I don't think I would have ended up putting out that video. The shader game was the brainchild of me getting annoyed with how shaders looked in their 4-color setup versus how they were actually shown on our characters. I took a little while to try to formulate a fun trivia game out of it, and I did some testing on my friends to test out the difficulty, like, is this too hard, is this too easy? And once I was happy with it, I went to a couple of friends and asked them to be on the show, and they agreed. But I knew if I can get someone from Bungie, I could really have some more fun with it. And fortunately, I was able to get Joe Blackburn, who was the game director at the time. This generated a lot more interest, and we even got an exclusive piece of news during the filming that Bungie was going to reformulate the icons of the shaders to better represent how they would actually appear. So all around, I thought it was a great time, and I think it is very, very deserving of a watch. The first Mr. Fruit Summit vlog. Back in 2018, when the Mr. Fruit Dream Team was at maximum power, he invited us out to his place for a week of filming some videos, and it was some of the most fun I've ever had in my life. It was the hardest I've ever seen Mr. Fruit laugh, ever. This highlight video has banger after banger after banger clip in it, from the double nines of Smash Bros to mini golf hole-in-ones. This was some of the most fun I've ever had recording content ever, and all of the videos from that first Fruit Summit hold up to this day, and probably most of the second ones as well. Now, the second time the Fruit Summit was held, Danielle and I were obsessed with the show Taskmaster. We had picked it up during the pandemic and knew it was something that we wanted to try for ourselves. The Fruit Summit was the perfect place to try. Taskmaster is a show where 5 people, usually comedians, have to do very random, silly, funny tasks, and whoever does them the best gets points, and then most points wins the show. It's a British television show, so if you've never heard of it, that's why. We didn't want to come up with our own games for the first try at this, so we yoinked some ideas from the show itself, and we got to filming. We shot all 5 tasks with everyone on the first day that we were there. It was like a 12, 13-hour day. We hired a sound guy. We hired an editor to edit on site, so that way we could do the reactions to the tasks on the final day that we were there. A full episode of television, basically, shot and almost completely edited in a week. There are definitely some editing adjustments that I would have done in retrospect, but this is one of the best things I've ever been a part of, although I was more of a director-producer type role as opposed to being in front of the camera. If you're wondering why you've never seen this video though, that's because it's not on my channel, it's on Mr. Fruit's channel, since he was the one hosting the entire event. Over the course of my career, I've gotten many requests to start a new account, just for fun. But these requests ramped up significantly over the past 3 years. This is something I never wanted to do. I had no interest in booting up a new account, free-to-play account, none. Even Jez asked me. I didn't want to do it. I did want to explore the new player experience to some degree for a video, but I knew what it would take, and I just resigned to my usual opinions of new player experience bad, we know, and I just kind of left it at that. I finally relented, but I wanted someone who had never actually played Destiny before to commentate over, and fortunately, my friend Spencer was down for it. I'm not sure this video really taught me anything that I didn't already know, mainly just that the new player experience is not that great, but we knew that. But I think the presentation of the video, the editing, all that kind of stuff was really well done. It was also the first time that I've really done a video in that kind of format. I know it just seems like a commentary video, but it's not the usual style that I do my commentaries. And it was also a very long form video, which I usually don't do in a scripted format. But this practice would give me the confidence to work on something even bigger down the road. The retrospectives. I wish I had this perspective in the early days, but part of the reason that I do certain videos is to build an archive of the game and talk about how I felt at the time certain things happened. This way, if anyone wants to go back and look at how the game used to be or how people really felt about a thing, you could go back and do it. I didn't really develop this philosophy until it was way too late, though, to archive some of the earliest bits of Destiny history, though, which is very disappointing. The 3 and 7 year retrospectives are a nice summarization of huge chunks of not only Destiny the game at the time, but my own life, from content creation to just me as a person. A lot of work goes into them, a lot of scripting, and I've been very happy with how the previous 2 turned out. With number 3 encapsulating 5 years of Destiny, I got my work cut out for me. Coming in at number 2 is not even a Destiny video. It's not even a video about video games. It is the Twitch Rivals Chess Tournament from November 2022. The concept behind this event is that noobs would get paired up with a grandmaster, and once per game, for like 30 seconds, you could ask them for help. Now, I thought everyone was going to be on my level in terms of skill rating. I was floating around 800 something, which in chess is basically, you know the rules of chess, and that's it. The competition went as high as 1600. My GM was Danielle, who is an extremely high-rated player. He also streams on Twitch and is a commentator for many, many, many chess events. My goal of this tournament, once I found out that I was the lowest rated player in the tournament, was to win 1 game. That's it. Just one. I just didn't want to completely embarrass myself in this event. I was studying for a few days before the event, and I couldn't tell you if much of that prep really did anything at all. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything here, even if the title of that video does, but I think it is wildly entertaining if you know anything about chess or have any kind of an interest in it. The pace moves pretty quickly. I chopped it up pretty nicely. It's 2 hours, but I think it's a pretty easy video to get lost in. And finally, the number 1 best video that I think I've ever made is a video that is not even located on this channel. You might have heard me mention this in the community tab or maybe a recent stream highlights, but I think the best video that I've ever made is the Pokemon Nuzlocke video that I uploaded very recently. This video is over 2 hours long, and I think it is the easiest 2-hour video you will ever watch, assuming you're into Pokemon. The entire thing is scripted and narrated by me. The whole thing's edited by me. And I say it's an easy watch because I got my wife, who isn't into Pokemon or 2-hour videos at all, to watch and enjoy the whole thing. I think the video is incredibly good. There's comedy, there's drama, you're gonna cheer, you're gonna cry. You never know what is happening next. For those not in the loop, a Pokemon Nuzlocke is a way of playing Pokemon that cranks up the difficulty considerably with extra rules, and not only did I do this, but I played alongside Mr. Fruit, who is like a Pokemon expert. So like, I'm a giga noob, I haven't played in 2 decades, so the whole point of the run was watching the pro player and the noob try to make it through this game. I'm not gonna spoil it, but there are plenty of ups and downs to experience in that video. This is the kind of thing that I wish I could do a bit more frequently. When I finished this video, it was the first time in years that I felt like I was a legitimate content creator. Like I had proven myself capable of being something more than what I have been. It was a signal to me that when I really have a vision and I really have a passion for something, I can still do some really good things. It gave me some faith in myself again. It allowed me to hit the goal of the advice that I gave at the very beginning of this video. I watched this entire video in the airport coming back home recently, a video that I've already watched several times over during the editing process. I'm thrilled with how this video turned out, and if there's but a single video that I hope people would give a chance to, it is that one. So, there you have it. The best videos that I have ever made. It has been my privilege to be able to make content for all of you during this era of my life. I am very grateful for everything that you all have given me, but my job is not done because it's never done. So here's to some more content. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.